Just got done editing this interview. You guys are going to love it. Before I do that, though, I want you to know that I'm going to be in the comments for the next 30 minutes or so answering your questions. If there's additional questions you want me to ask the CEO next time I interview them, leave them below. Or if you're just loving the data points I get CEOs to share, click the thumbs up button below. That's your way of telling me you're loving this stuff, and I'll get you more of it. Additionally, again, I'll be in the comments answering any questions you have. All right, for 30 minutes. Enjoy the interview. Hello, everyone. My guest today is Vasil Azarov. He's a growth marketing and startup event entrepreneur. He's produced over 500 in-person and virtual events, as well as built a network of 100,000 top tech entrepreneurs and marketers. He's the founder of Growth Marketing Conference, one of the leading growth marketing events in the industry. Vasil, you ready to take us to the top?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's do it.
So I just go right to the chase. Conferences are very difficult. You and I both have a lot of friends that run conferences. Some of them make a lot of money. Some of them are burning money like you wouldn't believe. Give me a general sense of how long growth marketing conferences has been around and why get into a space where there's a lot of unprofitable conferences in the first place.
Sure. So Growth Marketing Conference has been around for 4 years. We actually started as a startup marketing conference and as a community of entrepreneurs and founders. And eventually, when we changed the main name to Growth Marketing Conference, when we start seeing success, attracting larger companies, product growth marketing managers from companies like Adobe, Google, and then this is the first year when the conference actually became profitable. I personally wouldn't recommend anyone to start a conference off the bat unless you're really passionate about it and you're really thinking about it long term. For me, it's bringing people together, connecting people, and running events, and something that I would do without getting paid. That's why I'm still in business.
So this year, meaning the event coming up here in December 10th and 11th in San Francisco, that will be your first profitable growth marketing conference since 2015.
Oh, no. So we've always been profitable.
Okay.
In 2015, it was our first profitable event. Startup Marketing Conference was the one that was not very profitable, but this year is the first time when we will collect more or less sizable profit. Yeah. Previously, we were investing every profit, every dollar that we made into the development of the event.
I see. Okay, so 2015 through 2018, basically all break even all those years.
Pretty much.
Okay. And then give me some other texts. People are always thinking, they're running a SaaS company, they have a large list of users. They're going, should I launch a user conference like HubSpot Inbound? And then they go, well, how should I price it? How do I do logistics? All that. Give me your breakdown in terms of attendees, and then we'll go into some other metrics. So do you remember in 2015 how many folks you had?
We had about 400 people.
Okay. That's impressive for a first year event. How'd you get 400 people to show up?
Well, so our first one was actually a startup marketing conference back in 2014. We had about 300 people. So, and originally, you met a few of my partners. We started the community Startup Socials, where we organized startup mixers for founders here in Silicon Valley. That's how we built the network. That's how we got to know a lot of people. But I think it's about the right positioning. Growth hacking and growth marketing overall started to become trendy. And at the same time, knowing a lot of speakers in the space, I've been doing events for the last 12 years, helped me to bring some very talented speakers and drive the attendance.
So what did back in 2014, that first event, do you remember what your total expenses were all in?
Oh, it's been a long time ago, but I would say, I think it was about $150K or something like that.
And what was the most expensive part of that? Was it food at the thing, or the hotel block, or the venue?
It's always food and venue rental. So one of the things that you always should try to negotiate if you work with the hotel, to make sure you pay zero for your room rental and cover everything for maybe slightly higher food and beverage minimum. That is very simple advice for a new organizer.
So what does that mean? So let's use the 150 grand in 2014. You're saying with the hotel, sometimes they'll want you to prepay for like 50 rooms, and you're saying don't do that. Instead, offer to pay a little bit more on the guaranteed food income for the hotel.
Don't ever prepay for the rooms. They would want to charge you for the space, just a rental space. So they would say this room would cost $10,000 to rent, plus you have to spend $50,000 on food and drinks. You tell them instead, first of all, you negotiate every single thing, but then tell them that I would rather spend, if they would be really strict on, rental and food and beverage, I would rather spend 60,000 on food and beverage and give me the space for free. And they usually would do that.
Oh, interesting. Okay, very interesting. And why do they do that? Economically, why does that work for them?
Well, that's how they make most of their money overall. So they would rather, because they charge ridiculous prices on food and drinks. For example, a meal for attendee at the Fairmont Hotel, they would probably charge you something like $150 for a plate, right? So they make crazy margins on it. So for them, sometimes it makes sense to do it that way.
Interesting. Okay, so going back to 2014, 150 grand all in expenses, mainly food and venue, 300 attendees. What'd you charge ticket price wise back then?
I think we started at about $200, $300, and all the way up to $600, something along those lines.
Got it. Okay, so you had about 300 brands paying 300 startups paying $300. That's like 90 grand there. Some paying 600. So you get to about break even. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So one of the things when you start an event, you would have to give away a lot of tickets for free. So that's just the nature of it. But you need to make sure you do it strategically. So even for our conference currently this year, so what we do, we allocate certain amount of tickets for some people that we want to see at the event, that our partners want to see at the event. And they might not be necessarily people who would be buying tickets. So it's always a split between the tickets that you sell for full price, discounted price, early bird price, and you just give away to strategic people who you want to have at the event.
I see. So how many would you allocate for like this year at the Fairmont? Are we talking like 50 or 500 tickets?
For what?
For the people that are strategics that wouldn't pay. So you invite them and you comp their ticket.
We allocated around 400 of this. And we also give away some community passes.
Yep.
These are the passes that don't allow the full access to the event, but just opportunity to get access to networking portion, closing keynote, and closing reception.
And how many total folks do you think you'll have on December 10th and 11th in San Francisco?
We're projecting about 1,700 throughout 2 days of the event.
That's I have to go update since I'm speaking, I said, I'll share this with my audience. I said, there'll be 1,000 people. I got to go update that and say there's going to be 1,700 people. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go back to 2014 here real quick. So ticket price is $300 to $600. What about sponsor revenue? Do you remember sponsor revenue in that first year?
Yeah, we were horrible at trying to attract sponsors. And this is the first year when the breakdown between ticket sales and sponsorships are 50-50.
Oh, wow.
So back then, I think at our first event, we maybe have 2 or 3 sponsors. And
paying how much?
Paying like anywhere from 5 to 20,000. I think.
You're talking like 15 to 60, like something like 20 grand in sponsor revenue.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So let's then fast forward to 2015. So you had 400 people at that event. Total expenses still about 150 grand, you think?
So I thought we were talking about 2015. We were talking about 2014.
Oh, that's okay. So sorry, the numbers you just gave me were for 2015?
Yes.
Okay, so 150 grand in expenses, $300 to $600 ticket prices, sponsor revenue of 20 grand in 2015 with 400 people.
Yeah.
Okay. When did when did the rebrand to GMC Growth Marketing Conference happen? Was that 2015?
No, the main rebrand just happened this year.
Oh, wow.
2019. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to then 2016. So year 2 of the event, you're still operating a break even. What did you grow attendees to?
I think so I don't want to give you completely incorrect numbers.
Oh, right, I know. This is
I think we were at about 600 to 700.
Okay.
So every single year, pretty much. And we've been consistently growing around 25% revenue and attendees.
Yep.
Year after year. I think this is the first year when we made slightly larger leap.
Yep.
And became hopefully more profitable because it's still 1.5 months until the event.
Yep.
And this is something. So I'm actually having a team meeting right now to make sure that everybody's excited to take us to the finish line. But
how many people are on your team?
We have 12 people right now, but only 4 of them full time.
Okay.
Currently.
So how do you, I mean, that's something else, right? So you have 4 full-time people. What are their job titles?
So Ala is our head of operations. She's pretty much a Swiss Army knife. She does everything.
She's
She
amazing.
works on partnerships. Yeah, I know you work with her. So then we have Stephanie, who is works with us part time. Well, she's not full time, but she's an integral part of the team because she's been with us from the very beginning. She just focuses on one conference, speaker onboarding, sponsor onboarding. We have a full time marketing manager who's really heavy on automation, data.
Okay.
Um,
Is that
we
like
also,
that marketing manager? Are they a developer that do things like they're able to scrape very effectively, or are they more like a marketing person that knows PPC?
so our marketing manager is very strong on email and automation and creating workflows. She's
Okay.
very detailed oriented and technical, so she can work with any developer. And she also works with agencies that manage our PPC campaigns and Facebook campaigns. So she understands, she's a generalist when it comes to growth marketing, but she's a specialist when it comes to email and marketing automation.
Okay. And so for this 2019 event, about how much will you spend on direct paid ads through whatever channel?
So I think PPC would be around 20K this
Okay.
year, and Facebook ads will be maybe 15.
Okay. I mean, is that a huge jump from last year? Is that kind of what you expected it to be at?
Actually, I feel like we started spending it a little bit late in the game this time, so it will be slightly higher than what we spent last year. We should have spent more.
It works though.
We finally figure out the way to make it to track our. I mean, it's still attribution is really hard when it comes to events because it's always multi-touch. But at least we know just by tracking every single ticket sale almost manually, we know that it's profitable.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it was 1,700 people you're expecting. You said you allocate 400 to strategics and maybe another 100 to community folks. I mean, you're expecting over 1,000 paid tickets to come in, correct?
Around that, yeah.
Right around there. Yeah, I mean, that's great. Now, do you have, besides PPC, how else do you get a lot of these signups? I assume a lot of them you just email to the list that came last year, but how do you get new attendees to come in?
Yeah, so several things. We partner with relevant organizations and community. We're always open to partnership with anyone, even some who might consider to be slightly competitive in the space.
Come on, Vasil, names. I want names. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, for example, some people might think that Growth Hackers conference would be a competitor, but the founders are good friends of mine.
Amelia.
And yeah, and we will be helping them out promote their event as well next year. Because one of the things that we figure out by surveying our attendees is that some of them just simply cannot attend in December, where we have our main event. So they help us out, and we help them out as well.
That's a no. I mean, that obviously works. Okay, good. So, 600 up to 600 attendees in 2016. When did the sponsor revenue really start getting closer to 50-50 with ticket revenue? Like, what was the key there?
I think the key is just being around for at least 4 years, because sponsors often ask, how long have you been around? Making sure that they understand the quality of our audience. Some of them would send a few people to the event first to experience the conference, to meet attendees. So I think also rebranding helped quite a bit. It repositioned us to the next level. So this is the first year when we really, it's going to be around 50-50 split. And previously it was about, I want to say 60-40, 70-30. So we were just ramping it up year after year.
Now, Vasil, I'm going to put you under a little pressure here for a second, because maybe congratulations are in order. Will this 2019 event be your first $1 million event, top line revenue, ticket sales plus sponsor revenue?
Yes.
Dude, that's
actually no. Well, last year we did hit million, I think.
Oh, okay.
This year, this year it will be anywhere between 1.3 to 1.5, hopefully.
That's great. And so 50% of that, or about 600, 700 grand, is coming from sponsors. Do you take the approach of a lot of sponsors paying a little, or few sponsors paying, 100 grand?
It's a split, because with some of the sponsors, we structure very comprehensive partnerships when we help them help promote their brand to our entire community throughout the year. So I think the majority comes from our, sponsorship, medium tier sponsorship that we sell, depending on if you get it a little bit early in the year, it could be anywhere between 18 to 25 grand per sponsor.
And Stephanie's handling all that.
She's handling, actually, we do have one other team member, very important team member, who's in charge of partner marketing and customer success.
Okay.
So she works very closely with the sponsors, and Stephanie takes care of all the logistics, but she makes sure that sponsors are getting talking to the right people from our community, and more on the marketing side. So think of her as a strategic customer success support person, and she does some sales as well.
Okay, so you've got Ala, head of operations, Stephanie, speaker and sponsor relationships, a full-time marketing manager for PPC and Facebook ads, and then a partner marketing manager and customer success. Those are your 4 full-time employees.
Sabrina, yeah. So Sabrina will become a full-time next year. We also have
she's partner marketing and customer success.
Yeah. And then we have a couple of full-time data operation marketing outsourced team members who work out of Philippines.
What do they do in terms of data?
So they make sure that our data is always clean. We email people quite a lot, and we have a lot of bounced emails. So our goal is to make sure that those are cleaned within less than a week.
How many? Are you talking like 100,000 people are emailing, or 10,000, or?
Our list right now is about 110,000, from which the 30,000 are very engaged segment. Those are the ones who probably been to our events in person. The rest either subscribed on the website or attended our virtual events. So
that's good. Now, what's the cycle of virtual events relative? So in 2019, you'll have this one in December. How many virtual events did you do this year?
We did one event ourselves, and we did 3 or 4 in partnerships with. We partner with various partners in a similar space. For example, SEM Rush, Mobile Monkey. They do a lot of virtual events. So we help each other co-promote and share a registration list.
That's great. Yeah. So that you'll promote their virtual event, they'll promote your physical event, and that's a great way to get new attendees.
Yes.
Okay. Let's we've asked a lot of behind the scenes questions. Let me go back to like front of the scene questions. People go to growthmarketingconf.com. They see the people that are looking to speak. How do you curate the speaker list to make sure that not only these are intelligent people, but you know what I mean when I say there's a lot of very intelligent people that cannot present. They'll put an audience to sleep.
Yeah.
How do you make sure you get speakers that are smart and entertaining?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a simple formula for that. So there are 3 main characteristic in every speaker that I look for. First of all, he or she needs to be a practitioner, right? So sometimes we would prefer to have a manager and director level, but somebody who's in the trenches and who can really show actionable stuff. Then the second one, he or she needs to be an engaging speaker. Because some of the smartest, as you just mentioned, some of the smartest people on earth, unfortunately, they cannot clearly communicate the message
How do you test for that? How do you know if they're entertaining or not?
Well, I usually ask them to send a video if they have one, or I usually jump on a quick call. Sometimes 15 minutes is enough to understand. Yeah. And then the third one also, which always help drive attendance, they need to be from recognizable brand. Sometimes they don't have to be. It could be if they're not from recognizable brand, if they meet first 2 criteria, I would still add them to the agenda.
Yep. Okay, very good. So those 3 things. All right. So those are speakers. Have you, anything else I'm not asking about that people should be aware of when they're thinking about either event organizations, or actually maybe what we should do is use the last 60 seconds on this. So growth marketing conference, you obviously have like the CMO of people like Udi at Gong, right? Which is obviously a runaway success story. You also have people like Emily at Voice Flow. So like the voice space is very interesting, and she's a practitioner there as head of growth. Which speaker are you like most excited about that is not a big name? Someone that if someone buys a ticket and they come watch this person, they're going to go, oh my gosh, this is a gem.
Actually, it's absolutely, it surprised me that this startup is not very well known in US, but you probably heard of UiPath, right? So we actually build a robot on top of that platform, robot that will be automatically cleaning our data, something that our virtual team is currently doing. And one of the speakers who will be co-presenting with me He's runs the agency that builds robots on top of the UA path.
What?
So I'm super excited about that presentation.
Wait, who is that? Who's that speaker?
His name is Christian. It's really hard to pronounce his name, but he probably somewhere on the bottom of the agenda. But really, great guy.
What's his agency name? You don't know? That's okay.
Yeah, it's definitely on the website. But,
that's very well. UiPath is, some would say, the fastest growing SaaS company ever in history, but a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, and we have, I think their head of growth is attending as well. So I'm very excited to meet the team. Yeah, exactly. These types of companies, these types of speakers, I'm also the most excited about. And I'm trying to always ask speakers that we hosted the event, who is somebody right now you recommend that maybe working in the trenches and trying to build a personal brand. So maybe if any of your listeners know of anyone right now, we're always looking for new speakers.
There you guys go. And guys, in the meantime, also, if you've been waiting to maybe want to get coffee with me one-on-one, you're in San Francisco, if you grab a ticket to the event, I will also be there speaking, and I'd love to get one-on-one coffee with you. You can go to nathanlatka.com/growth to get that right now. The event is coming up December 10th and 11th. Vasil, this is a wonderful, man. Thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks so much, Nathan.
These CEOs rarely give these kinds of interviews. I hit them hard, I get the data, and I want to do it more. So if you want to get more of this stuff, make sure you subscribe up here. And then additionally, go check out one of my other CEO interviews right now.